On the morning of my birthday, the police knocked on my door. My wife stood behind them, crying, and accused me of stealing her mother's diamond ring. Within hours, I lost my home, my name, and the life I spent years building. But what she didn't know was that I had a camera hidden in the living room. Welcome to Cheating Story, where betrayal meets justice and every lie has a price. This is the story of how I was framed by my wife and how I exposed everything she tried to bury. My name is Caleb Moore, and on the morning of my 35th birthday, I thought life was finally falling into place. The little craftsman house I'd spent years fixing up smelled like vanilla cake and candles. Streamers hung from the ceiling. A small group of close friends, neighbors, and a few family members had come the night before to celebrate. We laughed, we ate, we sang, and I swear, Amelia, my wife of 2 years, looked at me like I was the only man in the world. She smiled when I gave her the necklace. Nothing extravagant, just a delicate gold chain with a small charm shaped like a maple leaf because her favorite season is autumn. She hugged me, whispered, "You always know what I love," and kissed my cheek in front of everyone. I thought that meant something, but that morning, just as I was sipping leftover coffee and replaying the night in my head, there was a knock at the door. 2 officers, stern faces, one hand already resting on his holster. Caleb Moore, the taller one, asked, Yeah. We received a report of a break-in and theft. Your wife filed the report. Mind if we come in? I blinked. Wait, what? A break-in? They didn't answer, just stepped inside. Amelia came down the stairs, right on cue. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying all morning. Her voice shook, just enough to sound convincing. I'm so sorry, Caleb, she whispered, but I have to tell the truth. The truth? She looked at the officers and said, He took it. The ring. My mother's engagement ring. It's gone. It felt like the room spun sideways. That ring, the antique diamond passed down 3 generations. It was locked in the safe upstairs. I hadn't even touched it. I didn't take anything, I said, my voice cracking. Amelia, what are you talking about? She flinched. You've been behind on your business payments. Maybe you thought you'd sell it? I don't know. The officers turned toward me. Sir, we'll need you to come with us. I started to protest, but the cuffs were already clicking shut behind my back. I was still in my pajamas. Neighbors watched from across the street as I was led to the squad car, like some thief. I saw Mr. Ellis from next door shake his head. Mrs. Henderson had her phone out, recording. I was humiliated, betrayed, and worst of all, I had no idea why, but I was about to find out. The holding cell smelled like bleach and bad breath. Cold metal benches, no windows, just 4 cinder-block walls and the low hum of a flickering light overhead. My name's Caleb Moore, and I was sitting there, hands still numb from the cuffs, trying to understand how the hell I went from blowing out birthday candles to being fingerprinted like some criminal. The officers didn't say much, just read me my rights, asked a few dry questions, and left me to sit there while the system chewed me up. I thought Amelia would come. I thought she'd walk through those doors with tears in her eyes and say it was all a mistake, that she panicked or misunderstood, that she was sorry. But she didn't. Instead, after 2 hours of waiting, they brought me into an interrogation room. A guy with a mustache and breath like cheap coffee sat across from me with a file in his hands. You've been married 2 years, he said, flipping through papers. No priors, no arrests, no debt on paper, but your woodworking business isn't doing so hot, is it? I clenched my jaw. I build furniture. It's slow in winter. That doesn't make me a thief. He shrugged like he'd heard it all before. Your wife says you've been acting strange. Says she saw you near the safe a few nights ago. That's when I leaned forward, the cuffs on my wrists scraping the table. She's lying. He looked up from a file. You got anyone who can back that up? My throat went dry. I thought about the guests at the party, about the way Amelia cried in front of them, the way she played the victim so perfectly. No, I whispered, not really. They held me overnight, just long enough for the shame to soak in. No charges filed, not yet, but they kept repeating, ongoing investigation. And when I got out the next morning, the Real punch came. I walk home. Or, I tried to. The house I'd remodeled with my own hands, the one where I replaced every floorboard, patched every wall, and built that back porch from scratch, was locked. Not just locked, the locks had been changed. I stood there on the porch like a stray dog. My own key didn't fit. I knocked until my fists hurt. No answer. No lights. Just silence. That's when I saw it. A little yellow sticky note on the mailbox. In Amelia's handwriting. Please don't make this worse, Caleb. I need space. I didn't even have a bag with me. No wallet. No phone charger. Just the sweatpants I'd been arrested in and a hoodie that still smelled like birthday cake. I ended up at a rundown motel off the highway called the Pine Creek Inn. $60 a night, water-stained ceilings, and a guy at the front desk who didn't even blink when I said, cash only. I sat on the edge of the sunken bed in room 104 and stared at the wall. My wife said I stole from her. My neighbors thought I was a criminal. My business was hanging by a thread, and I had absolutely no one in my corner. But what Amelia didn't know, what no one knew, was that I had a secret. And it was hidden in plain sight, right inside our living room. I couldn't sleep that night, not because of the lumpy motel bed or the peeling wallpaper or the sound of the guy in the next room yelling at a football game at 1 a.m. No, I couldn't sleep because something didn't add up. My name's Caleb Moore, and I was framed by the woman I loved, kicked out of my own home, branded a thief. And for what? For a ring? That wasn't Amelia. At least not the Amelia I knew. Something darker was going on. Something colder. And I needed to know why. So, I pulled out my last lifeline, an old laptop I kept in my truck for work orders. It still had the software installed. The one I used for a project last summer when I was helping install security cameras for a friend's cabin upstate. And that's when I remembered, 2 months ago, I'd installed a hidden mini cam in our living room. I didn't do it because I didn't trust Amelia. I did it because I didn't trust the handyman we'd hired at the time. Some guy who gave me a weird vibe when I saw him poking around near my tool shed. I meant to take the camera down after a few days, but I forgot. And thank God I did. I logged into the software, punched in the IP address, and started scanning the footage. At first, it was normal. Quiet evenings. Amelia watching TV. Me passing through with a cup of tea. Nothing out of the ordinary. Then, 2 days before the party, around 3:14 p.m., I saw her. Amelia. She walked into the living room in a hurry. Her hair tied up. Phone pressed to her ear. I told you, just trust me, she said. He's clueless. He won't even see it coming. She paused, then laughed. Once the ring's missing, I'll report it. Police take it from there. He gets booted. We sell. Simple. My stomach dropped. She walked over to the safe near the bookshelf, punched in the code, my birthday, and pulled out the ring box. She opened it, smiled. Then she walked over to the sliding glass door and smashed it from inside. Glass flew outward. She scattered a few books across the floor, pulled a drawer out of the cabinet, then grabbed her purse and walked out, just as the doorbell rang. She'd staged it all. The break-in, the missing ring, the emotional meltdown. Every second was caught in crystal-clear HD. I sat there in that cheap motel chair, watching the footage over and over again, barely breathing. My chest was tight. My hands were trembling, but not from fear. From anger, from betrayal, and from something else, something that felt foreign after everything I'd just been through. Hope. I copied the footage onto a flash drive I kept in my backpack. Then I backed it up to a cloud drive. Then to a second. If Amelia wanted war, I wasn't walking into it empty-handed. But I knew this wouldn't be enough on its own. She'd talk her way around it. Cry again. Spin it. That's what manipulators do. I needed someone who could turn this into something bigger. Someone who believed in facts more than feelings. So, the next morning, I walked into the local precinct. And that's when I met Detective Naomi Clark. The police station smelled like burnt coffee and old paperwork. Phones ringing. Officers moving in and out like clockwork. No one looked up when I walked in, just another face in a town too small for this kind of drama. I stood at the front desk, flash drive in hand, throat dry. "My name's Kayla Moore," I said. "I need to speak to someone about a false accusation and stolen property. I have proof." The woman behind the desk gave me a look that said she'd heard it all before. Until I added, "My wife faked a break-in. I have it all on camera." She paused, then picked up the phone. "Detective Clark," she said, "you've got a walk-in." 10 minutes later, I was sitting across from Detective Naomi Clark. She was in her early 40s, sharp eyes, hair tied back in a practical bun. She didn't smile, didn't ask small-talk questions. She just motioned to the flash drive. "Let's see it." I handed it over. She plugged it into her laptop and watched the footage in silence. No reaction, no gasp, just the slow tap of her finger on the side of the screen as Amelia smashed the glass and staged the scene. When it ended, Clark closed the laptop. "You said she filed a theft report? Claimed you stole a ring?" "Yes." "And this is your house?" "It was, until she changed the locks." She leaned back, arms crossed. "That's not just perjury. That's filing a false report, criminal mischief, and possibly insurance fraud if she tried to claim the ring was stolen." I nodded. "I also think there's someone else involved. She was on the phone before it happened, mentioned selling, said I wouldn't see it coming." Clark stood up. "You got any bank records? Anything else showing strange transactions or money moving around?" "Not yet," I said, "but I can get them." She looked at me hard for a moment, like she was trying to decide what kind of man I was, liar, fool, or fighter. Then she said, "Good, bring me what you can. Emails, texts, receipts. If there's a trail, we'll follow it." And just like that, I had someone in my corner. A few days later, I met her again, this time with more than just video. I'd pulled old emails Amelia sent me, ones where she asked about my account passwords, tax information, even access to the safe for estate planning. I showed Clark a recent bank statement with several large withdrawals labeled contractor fees. Only problem? I was the contractor. No one else ever worked on the house but me. She whistled low when she saw it. "She's laundering the money." Then she flipped through another document I brought. "And what's this?" "My granddad's inheritance," I said quietly. 28 grand. I left it in a separate savings account, but it's gone. Where did it go? "I don't know yet." She tapped her pen on the table. "We're going to find out. Give me access to everything, email, statements, phone records. I'll get a warrant if I have to." Something started to shift inside me. I wasn't just defending myself anymore. I was fighting back. Clark leaned forward. "I've seen women like your wife before, pretty persuasive, all crocodile tears. She's banking on the idea that you'll stay quiet, roll over, disappear, that you're just some soft-spoken handyman who doesn't know how to fight." She smiled for the first time. "But we're going to show her exactly how wrong she is." 2 weeks. That's how long it took to gather the proof. 2 weeks of sleepless nights in that dump of a motel, of digging through old emails, of watching transaction histories that made my stomach turn. 2 weeks of becoming someone I never thought I'd have to be. A man on a mission not to get revenge, but to get my life back. Detective Naomi Clark worked fast. While I gathered my side of the puzzle, she pulled warrants, traced bank movements, and even flagged an attempted transaction from Amelia's account to a man named Derek Hunt, a name I didn't recognize until I saw his photo. He was at my birthday party. "One of Amelia's friends from the gym," she said. "A guy I barely noticed between the candles and cake." Turns out, Derek had priors, petty fraud, identity scams, some sealed records that didn't look good. He was the one she was talking to on the camera, the one she planned to sell the ring to. They weren't just lovers. They were partners in crime. Clark didn't wait. She took the evidence straight to the district attorney. And the DA didn't wait either. They brought Amelia in the next morning. I didn't go to the station, but Clark told me everything. Amelia showed up in a designer coat and heels, acting surprised, even insulted, that she'd been summoned. She asked if it was a mistake, if someone misunderstood the paperwork. Then Clark played the video. Amelia went pale, then quiet, then she lawyered up. That afternoon, Clark called me with the update. She's going down, Caleb, and we're filing restitution. That means the house, your inheritance, your name, all of it gets returned to you. I didn't speak for a full 5 seconds. I just sat there on the motel bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling, heart pounding. I'd done it. No, not just me. Clark, the footage, the proof. It all worked together. Amelia and Derek were both charged with conspiracy to commit fraud, filing a false police report, theft, and financial abuse. She cried in court. Derek didn't even show up for his arraignment. He ran and got picked up trying to cross state lines. The judge was clear and cold. 6 years for Amelia, 9 for Derek. All assets frozen. My name cleared. My house returned. The day I walked back into that house, I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't celebrate. I just stood in the living room, the same one where she faked the break-in, and took a deep breath. And for the first time in weeks, it didn't feel like I was drowning. It felt like air. I spent the next month fixing up everything she'd left broken. The broken glass, the paint she never finished, the garden I always promised my grandfather I'd plant. Neighbors started waving to me again. One even came over with a pie and a quiet, "We were wrong about you. I'm sorry." I opened my workshop again, took a few furniture orders. Nothing big, but it was mine. Detective Clark stopped by one afternoon, leaning against the porch railing, watching me work. "You did good," she said, sipping a soda. "Most people would have folded." I looked at her and smiled. "Most people don't have you in their corner." She chuckled. "Let's just say, I don't like liars who smile too much." We stood in silence for a moment, the sun setting over the neighborhood. I almost lost. Then she said something that stuck with me. "They thought you were weak. But the thing about quiet men is when they fight to the finish." And she was right. My name is Caleb Moore. I was betrayed, framed, humiliated, but I stood my ground. I cleared my name, and I took my life back, one truth at a time. Intro. They knocked on my door the morning after my birthday with handcuffs. I was still in my pajamas, sipping cold coffee when 2 officers told me I was being investigated for theft. My wife stood behind them, eyes puffy, hands shaking, claiming I had stolen her mother's diamond ring. That ring was worth over $20,000. And suddenly, so was my reputation. Within hours, I'd lost everything. My house, my business, my name. But what my wife didn't know, what no one knew, was that I'd hidden a camera in our living room 2 months earlier. And when I played back the footage, let's just say the real thief wasn't wearing pajamas. Welcome to Cheating Stories. And thank you for listening to a true tale shared by someone anonymous but deeply real. See you in the next story.